Hello everyone, Michael here for Tactica Imperialis. Welcome to today's video. Today is going to be a top 5. Yeah, it's been a while since we've done one of those, hasn't it? So today we're going to be doing my top 5 least favourite Primarchs. The Primarchs that I find either the least interesting, or whose stories I dislike the least, or dislike the most, or whatever it is that so happens to be the reason I put them here. One condition to apply, as I did with my previous top 5 Primarch video, which I'll put in the description below, that's my top 5 favourite Primarchs, although I think I need to do a redux on it, is the models don't count. The Forge World model range is awesome, but it's not complete yet. We don't have models for guys such as Dawn, Khan, Magnus, and a couple of others. So, until they're all out, it would be unfair to judge the Primarchs based on their model range at all. Because we may get amazing models for Primarchs I dislike at the moment, and that would change the game. We may get bad models for Primarchs I like, and that pulls them down the list, or reshuffles the order in some way. And so I'm going to discard the model entirely when it comes to making this list. Other than that, it's all just my opinion, so if you have your own thought, I'd be interested to see what you have to say in the comments below, both what you think of my list and what your own personal list would be. And remember, of course, this is just opinion. If what I say disagrees with what you would say, then that's just how I think. This is not hard fact. Remember that. Anyway, with all that said, let's start at the number 5 spot. Coming in at the number 5 spot, we have Jaghtai Khan, Primarch of the White Scars. Now, I don't have a lot against Jaghtai Khan. He's quite an interesting character-ish. He's pro-psycho, which is cool. The bike idea is it's a cool aesthetic. He's unique in his own way, and I do kind of like the aesthetic of Jaghtai Khan. And he may actually get off this list. If there's enough lore added to Jaghtai Khan through the Horus Heresy series, or when I actually do a White Scar lore video, there's a chance he will get off the list. And so, for the moment, he's here. And the main reason he's here is I kind of forget Jaghtai Khan exists a lot. When I'm recapping the Legion lists in my head, like trying to work, I was literally sat down making this list, and I ran through a mental check of Primarchs in my head. Like, okay, got this. And I was one short, and the one I was short was Jaghtai Khan. That's not to say that I dislike him. It's just that I forget he's there, which makes him kind of uninteresting. The ones who I remember are the ones I like, or the ones who I've done more reading for, or the ones who are at the bottom of this list who I really dislike. And Jaghtai Khan just sort of fits kind of in between. I was also tempted for the similar reason to give it to Alfarius. I know people are going to hate me for that, but I find Alfarius a little bit more interesting than Khan, which is why I put him a little bit higher. So Jaghtai Khan is my number 5 spot. It's nothing against the Khan. Honestly, I think if he gets some good lore and I actually get the time to read up on it, maybe when I do my White Scar lore video, it will change. But for the moment, Jaghtai Khan, he is at number 5. I want to start off the number 4 spot by apologising to Kieran, because it's Corax. Honestly, Corax should not be here. If you know anything about what I like about my models, Corax should not be here. Look at Comrade Kurz and look at Corax. They're a very similar aesthetic. Jump pack, or very fast moving, lightning claws, dual wield pistols, or in Kurz's case is throwing knives, a very stealthy legion. I should really, really like Corax. But I don't. I just find Corax really rather dull. And I can't really justify that. I just find him a bit dull. He was always a bit inactive during the Heresy, and I know this wasn't his fault. He got annihilated at Isfahan 5, and then the Alpha Legion screwed over his rebuilding process. But Corax had no lore to use during the Horus Heresy, or not a lot. I think there's a book on Corax just come out, so that might change things slightly if I get time to read it. But from the lore I've read on him, there's not a lot there that makes me think, oh wow, this guy's awesome. Because his origin story is just like another Primarch rising up with the populace to take control over a tyrannical ruler, which happened a lot. And I don't know, I just find Corax a bit flat. This is probably a bit tetchy, but Corax was a little bit odd with the composition of his legion. He really distrusted the Terrans. He sent them off to die in the corner a lot, particularly after the incident at Gate 42. And I don't know, I mean, Corax actually probably saved himself from the warrior lodges at that time, but I find Corax just kind of flat, uninteresting, and unlike Jaghtai Khan, who's like kind of could be interesting, I just forget he exists. I know Corax exists, but I don't find him interesting enough to look up. So sorry, Kieran. Corvus Corax is my number 4. Coming in at number 3, we have Lionel Jonson, Dark Angels. Need I say more? Yeah, I think I probably did. So, Jonson is really kind of flat. He couldn't be turned by anybody to chaos. I'll be mentioning this, I think, in the podcast. Kairos Fateweaver spoke to Lionel Jonson and tried to turn him to chaos, and failed. Not even the manipulative Fateweaver could do it. Jonson just doesn't seem that interesting to me. And again, I actually went and read up on Jonson while I was making this list, just to see if I could find something to pull him off this list, off of my initial impressions. Because I wrote down 6 or 7 as my initial impressions, and then went and read up on all of them, just to see if it was interesting enough to get them off the list. And Jonson just couldn't. He's lacking in lore because of his secretive nature, and that the books haven't really got into him enough. And the other thing is, Jonson actually could have made it to Terra. Jonson was given the chance to get to Terra and didn't take it. He went to go and hunt Conrad Kurz, although in doing so it did allow Sanguinius to make it to Imperium, to Terra, because of Imperium Secundus and all of that stuff. So, I don't know. Jonson is a bit dodgy, and he was also very, very manipulative. He was trying to become War Master as soon as Horus went rogue. Jonson was trying to set himself up as the new War Master. He didn't get it. I believe that actually went to Dawn, sort of a last-minute appointment. But, I don't know, I just don't like Jonson, and the legacy of the Dark Angels is also something that doesn't interest me all that much. So, sorry Dark Angels fans, Lionel Jonson is number 3. Coming in at number 2 is Lorgar, Primarch of the Wordbearers Legion. And now we're getting to the Primarchs that I actually kind of dislike, as opposed to they're kind of a bit uninteresting, or I just forget they exist. Because Lorgar, I do dislike Lorgar. I'm not a fan of Lorgar at all, really. Like, you're supposed to feel sorry for Lorgar. He was chastised so harshly by the Emperor that he was driven to chaos by Erebus and Corfeiron. That's how it's supposed to be portrayed. But I don't think that. I think, genuinely, Erebus, Corfeiron, and Lorgar would have found chaos anyway, eventually. It may have taken a bit longer and had slightly different consequences, but they would have found chaos because that's what happens. Religion in the Imperium, it can be very easily twisted. They find a chaos shrine and an artifact, and if you look at Remley's heresy fanfiction, that's exactly what happens to Guilliman. He finds a chaos artifact, looks at it, and is shown the truth of the universe by the Chaos Gods, and so falls to chaos. Lorgar could have quite easily done that without the Emperor getting involved at all. And that's what bothers me, is that you're supposed to feel sorry for Lorgar because the Emperor and Guilliman messed him up. But they didn't. Well, they did, but it would have happened anyway. Lorgar would have still gone to chaos anyway. And the other reason that I find Lorgar extremely annoying is he has done literally nothing since he ascended to demonhood. He ascended to demonhood sometime after the heresy. It's not stated when, but he ascended to demonhood. And since then, he has gone into his temple on his world of, what's it called now? Sicaris? Yeah, Sicaris. And he hasn't left. He's literally just sat there, and the Wordbearers have gone on to do their own thing without their Primarch, because their Primarch has just been sat meditating, doing flip all. And it's really, really weird. And I find Lorgar just extremely, really dull as a result. Plus, I don't know, the whole Shadow Crusade thing, I feel sorry for Angron. I like Angron because Angron was screwed over from day one. And Lorgar actually manipulated Angron to becoming a demon. If you read into the subtext of the visit to New Saria, Lorgar suggests to Angron, go to New Saria for closure. He must know at this point, being as gifted as he is and being shown all this stuff by the Chaos God, and having the power to ascend Angron to demonhood, that what Angron's going to find is going to trigger the hell out of him and set him off on a rampage that is going to give him enough power to ascend him to a demon. Yes, you could argue he's trying to cure the Butcher's nails, and he kinda is, but it's more to deal with the fact that Angron is so unstable that he's becoming a liability, as well as the fact that he's dying as a result of the nails. So I really can't like Lorgar. He's not the worst Primarch. He's not my least favourite. I've still got one more to do on this list. But I find very little common ground with him, as opposed to another character who was manipulated by Chaos, who found their way to Chaos and then set things into motion, like Horus. I'm not a huge fan of Horus, but he really did get set up by, well, Lorgar and Erebus and co. So I do really just not have a fan for Lorgar. So Lorgar is my number 2, but of course we have one more spot to fill. Place your internal bets in your heads, and let's find out. And our number 1 in today's list, my least favourite Primarch. I get the feeling I'm going to annoy someone even more than I annoyed Kieran, is Fulgrim. I'm sorry, Alexis. It's Fulgrim. I really don't like Slaanesh. I don't like Slaanesh one bit. Slaanesh creeps me out, Slaanesh annoys me, and that is really putting Fulgrim on a bad standing to start with. But Fulgrim as well, I don't know. I also can't feel sorry for him. And I think that's something that you kind of have to do with the traitor Primarchs, to some extent, is you've got to find a way to justify them, to find it in your heart to pity them, to forgive them in a way. Not say, oh, they shouldn't have fallen or whatever, but if you can find a way to justify what they did, why they did, and maybe find an excuse for them. For example, Mortarion fell because the Emperor used psychic powers to create the Primarchs, and Mortarion hated Psykers. I can justify that. Magnus is a whole different kettle of fish. Kurz was kind of broken mentally because of his split personality. I think it's dissociative identity that Ramlay's called it, and so that I can justify. Fulgrim I can't. Fulgrim was just a perfectionist who ended up getting corrupted by a demon weapon, like a moron. And then, actually, I think the reason that I dislike Fulgrim, and the reason that Fulgrim is my least favourite Primarch, is the fact that Fulgrim, of all of the 9 traitors, had the best opportunity to turn it around. He had the perfect chance to turn it on his head and say, I'm done, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Dad, if you have to wipe my legion out, that's fine. But I'm sorry, I fucked up. Okay? And he actually had that chance. Look at Istvan 5. On Istvan 5, Fulgrim didn't want to kill Manus. He beat Manus in a fight using Manus' own weapon, Forgebreaker, whereas Manus used Fireblow, which I thought was a really nice switch. And he could have killed him. He was going to kill him, but he couldn't do it. Until the demon weapon killed him for him. And then Fulgrim was just snapped into clarity. He's like, oh my god, what have I done? And rather than charge into the traitor lines as a martyrdom to try and seek forgiveness, rather than flee Istvan 5 and try and run for Terra, to try and maybe get word back to Terra, or just to get the Emperor Children out of the equation, he gave himself up. He said to the demon, alright, I'm sorry, I can't take this, my mental state cannot take this anymore, destroy me. And he got possessed. And eventually he did turn the tables and get his body back, but he spent that time, rather than moping, admittedly, Fulgrim got shit done. He did get stuff done in terms of turning it around, learning the ways of chaos to turn the tables on the demon, but he had the perfect opportunity to say, I'm sorry, I'm done, Horus, you are a waste of space, I'm gone. And the way Fulgrim fell, oh my god, was it pitiful. I literally just read it again, just to make sure I got my facts right. The Demon Blade started getting in his ear a bit, Then the Eldar told him what the hell was going on. He wouldn't listen. He butchered the Eldar, went to see Horus with the full intent of getting answers. And Horus just said, "Oh, you should come and serve me," and through some subtle wordplay, turned Fulgrim. No clever, grand scheme, no visions of chaos, no anything. He just talked him round. Not because of anything. I think the main argument was the Emperor was holding humanity back from perfection, when Fulgrim's entire goal in life had been to emulate the perfection of the Emperor. What? I'm sorry, Fulgrim, I cannot feel sorry for you. You're kinda cool and your legion is alright. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of Lucius and Fabius Bile, but I can accept it. But, not to mention, he actually tried to kill his own ally, Perturabo, in order to become a demon himself, which is kind of a low blow. And Fulgrim actually should have died. I mean, he got sniped through the head, and the only reason he didn't die was because of Fabius Bile, who, let's be fair, was absolutely flipping amazing at keeping people alive. I mean, he saved Lucius as well from Shadowkin. So, I can't feel sorry for Fulgrim, I can't find a way to like Fulgrim, and I really don't like Slaanesh. That is not a good combination. Fulgrim is my least favourite Primarch, and he's probably the only one that I would actually go out of my way and say I dislike. I'm sorry, Alexis, I know you're going to be annoyed at me for putting him there, but that's my opinion. So there you go, that is my top 5 least favourite Primarchs, and I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to leave your thoughts on my list and your own list in the comments below. I'm interested to see what you have to say. If you have any other top 5 suggestions, in case I ever get around to doing this again, then do let me know as well. I'd be very interested to take some of those ideas on and get them to you. So, that's all for today. Thank you for watching. My name is Michael for Tactica Imperialis. I'll see you all again. Goodbye.